Hey y'all, it's Nancy the Handy Scandy. Welcome back for another crafty venture. Today we're working on Halloween again, and I am going to be using the Gothic Tapestry big old stamp from Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous, and there it is on the screen. I'm totally in love. In fact, I want to say I think almost everything I use on this card is Tim Holtz in some way or another. So you can see right now I have the stamp out and I have the papers. I will try to link everything downstairs. May or may not be affiliate links, but I will try to have a link to it. Now you did see on the screen that I had a stencil there from Visible Image. I started out where I was going to make two cards, one with the stencil and one with the stamp. Excuse me, I needed a sip. But as always, I get carried away. So I set the stencil project aside, but I couldn't separate it from the footage right there. So anyway, here we are. I pulled out my Misty, and as this is a red rubber stamp, you have to pull out that insert because it just doesn't need it. It already has the cush from the red rubber and the gray foam. So stamped it all out with my Versamark, and here I'm using, I believe it's Coffee Grounds brown ink from Brutus Monroe. And it's not ink, it's embossing powder. Hitting it with my heat tool until everything is shiny and glossy and melted. And it's a little thick, and the paper's not so thick because it's not actual cardstock. In fact, I'm not even sure what the weight is, but it's not the regular weight of a pattern paper. But anyway, I just had to wiggle it out, kind of get those bends out. As Tim Holtz says, paper does not have a memory, so I'm just trying to put it back where I want it versus where it wants to go. And here, I don't use a whole lot of pattern paper, to be honest. If you've been with me for a while, you know that I don't. So now that I have this pack, like, of Tim Holtz, so I'm going through absolutely everything to try to decide what is going to be my layering paper. So I'm pulling out some that I feel are good options. And this one wins. I love it. Green and brown and tan. One of my all-time favorite color combinations. And I don't know why I don't use it more in my decorating as well as my crafting. But it just wins my heart. But I guess it shouldn't be a surprise because that's kind of those autumnal colors. And the autumnal color palette is my favorite color. So here we are. So you can see that I am using one of my also favorite techniques of just kind of adding a grungy layer of gold embossing powder to the edges. Nothing neat, nothing fancy, literally grungy and messy. So it does cover up a lot of that pattern paper. But if you know me, I'm not mad about it. I'm okay with it. And you can see looking there that it is not even by any means. That's what I meant by messy. But on this one, I do it a little bit neater. I still want that organic look, if you will. So I don't care if some spots get a little larger or irregular, more irregular than others. In fact, that kind of adds to the look that I'm going for. So both layers have that gold embossing around the edges. And here I am taking the stamped image and lifting it up on some foam tape. Now this is my background layer, as you can see, and I'm using double-sided tape. I don't like it, but that's just me. It works well, but that's the problem. It works exceedingly well, and it doesn't give me the wiggle room that I always need because I'm imprecise. So I'm leaving in my process here because I'm trying to line things up. Now this one is cut straight, but my eye isn't straight, so I can't seem to lay it down properly. So I thought, well, let's go on the left side and we will make sure that 3 sides are lined up, and then it was over too far on the right, so I had to lift it up. But the left side was already completely adhered, so literally I had to tear the paper off, or the pattern paper off of the card base. That's just my process. It is what it is, but I overcame. I was able to pull off the excess and lay it back down without too much of that torn card base showing. Now on to embellishments. I've added a couple rows of jute twine as well as a piece of gold braiding on the left hand side, and here I am taking some of the ephemera from the Wallpaper pattern paper pack from Tim Holtz, and just trying to decide if I wanted to embellish with any of those, because this skull is so ornate and it has florals and swirls and foliage and all the good things. However, the ones in the pattern paper pack just didn't quite work. So I decided to go with this moth, which is cut out from a piece of that other pattern paper pack that I had open in the beginning. So I cut this out, fussy cut it, and here I've taken my Quickie glue pen and used it as an embossing adhesive, and just did some quick and dirty gold embossing on that as well. I am taking my white Gelly Roll Pen. I think this is 0.5, or maybe, no, not 0.5, 0.5. And I think this one actually, now that I'm remembering, it's an 0.8. So just going around, just adding a little bit of highlights, not really paying attention to light source, just kind of putting it where I think I want them, to be honest. I like those little bits and bobs of white highlight. I feel like it just kind of makes the image pop and adds just that little bit of contrast that a monochromatic project might need. So I'm happy that I did it, and I'm happy that I'm getting more comfortable with the gel pen. I haven't always been. But I also wanted to apologize that I don't have all of the supplies right here next to me as I'm recording. I'm still wrapping up my craft room redo, and things aren't quite in their new homes. And where I do my voiceover is in a different location than where I actually make my projects. So I'll get it worked out in the coming days. Just continue to bear with me, if you will. And hopefully this will all result in an easier process for me and a better video for you. Here I feel like is a piece de resistance, if you will, on this card, and it's just some moss. So a couple weeks ago I did a project for Whimsy, a Halloween project, ended up being a piece of decor, and I used the moss. I had to go on a scavenger hunt to find it, but I still have it out and I love it, and I will probably be using it many more times before the season is over. And I just thought it was so cool to add that behind the moth on the skull's eye. It adds to that Gothic creepiness. I wish you could see it in person. It just adds a really, really neat effect. I also added some Nuvo crystal drops over the top of the moth, and you can see, of course, that it was kind of white and milky. However, it will dry completely clear and shiny and give so much texture and dimension to that moth. It's going to be amazing. So these are my close-ups. You can see that I'm not about perfection. I'm not uber neat. You know, I want everything to look good, and I want to do the best that I can, but I also don't stress about it, because for me, sometimes if I get too much into the details, it's stressful, and then why bother, because that's not why I'm here. So look at this sentiment: I will never leave you, no one would dare. You are the dearest to my heart. Now I stand where darkness falls. Have you ever been in a relationship like that? I understand. All right, guys. Well, this has been Nancy the Handy Scandy. Thank you again for joining me this morning for Gothic Tapestry 5x7 Monochromatic Mixed Media Card. Drop me a comment downstairs. If you like this video, I'd encourage you to hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already a member of my crafty tribe, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you don't miss any videos. And if you are already subscribed, you guys know I love you. You're the best, and I can't wait to spend some more time with you. Until next time, mwah, I'm out.